Let's keep it a buck. Why is a Disneyland vacation, Disney World vacation, considered the premier vacation for families? Content, intellectual property, in a way that we've really seen unprecedented, right? So, say when you were a kid, right? You had your 6th birthday. You know, you had a Lilo and Stitch sheet cake from Target. That is the best damn cake you have ever had in your life. No cake will ever top that Lilo and Stitch sheet cake from Target. But if I were to get the baker, if I were to get that exact formula, hell, if I were to get goddamn Gordon Ramsay, Claire from Bon Appetit to make you that cake, you still wouldn't like it. Because what you like is not the cake itself, but the emotions attached to that cake. Because if we're keeping it a buck, that 6th birthday of yours was the last time your parents were together before they got divorced. And that's the last good memory you have of them. And no matter what, no matter how much I put on Lilo and Stitch, it will never be as good as those original memories. But something in your little brain, your little reptilian brain, dopamine fires off and you get those memories flooding back. And that, my friends, is nostalgia. And that's what Disney, Universal, and a lot of these contemporary companies weaponize in a way that's unprecedented.
Disney is also acquiring all of Lucasfilm's operating businesses, including Industrial Light and Magic and Skywalker Sound. George Lucas is a true visionary and an innovative epic storyteller who has defined modern filmmaking with unforgettable characters and amazing stories. The Star Wars universe now has more than 17,000 characters inhabiting several thousand planets and spanning 20,000 years. And this gives Disney infinite inspiration and opportunities to continue the epic Star Wars saga. Fans can expect a new feature film, Star Wars Episode 7, in theaters worldwide in 2015. And there will be more feature films, as well as consumer products, television projects, games, and theme park attractions. Today, I'm happy to announce that Disney has agreed to acquire Marvel Entertainment. For Disney, the acquisition of Marvel offers a unique opportunity to strengthen our position as a leading global provider of high-quality branded entertainment, to grow our businesses, and to build long-term value for our shareholders.
Don't ask questions, just consume product and then get excited for next products.
Ooh, hey, what's up? I do not know where to begin this video because there's absolutely so much to say. And I genuinely have no idea how to begin this video because no matter what I say, everybody is kind of indoctrinated from a young age into this cult of Disney, this cult of pop culture that we exist in. And to critique Disney is to critique people's childhood, and people take that very defensively. So before we even get into this, I really do have to preface, leave your reservations at the door. I'm gonna say some shit that's gonna be upsetting to hear, but I think it's important, and I think all of us in general just kind of need to get our heads out our asses and stop being so, like, I guess, willfully obtuse about this company. And what I'm gonna say is gonna extend to the entire movie industry as a whole. Because what Disney does as the biggest producer and as the biggest content creator extends to everybody. Because what Disney does, everybody tries to copy. So what do I mean that Disney's a cult of consumerism? Let's start at the top. Disney is the premier producer of children's media, not only in America, but globally. And they exist as a cult culturally to take your money. That is their main goal, profit and money. Because look, let's say, hey, you like Star Wars, right? You're a big Star Wars fan, lifelong fan. You got a tattoo of it. You got a fucking $2,000 Stormtrooper bus just chilling in your crib. Once you spend a certain amount of money, you're gonna be less willing to critique and kind of see the world as it is. You know, I'm guilty of it. I love Sailor Moon. Fuck, I have an actual Twin Peaks tattoo on my body. I understand that willingness, but at some point, we have to acknowledge the fact that these things are being weaponized against us. Our feelings and our emotions and our attachments to these characters, these stories, these worlds are being weaponized because Disney doesn't make films anymore. They've perfected the art of creating a product. You know, they haven't even created this shit. That's the thing. They haven't created, they bought it. Keep in mind, Disney bought Marvel. Disney bought Star Wars, right? A lot of their original stories were adaptations of public domain intellectual properties, aka IPs, right? Why are we continuing to praise this mediocrity? And I'll get into, but why? Because nostalgia, because we're all blinded by nostalgia, because Disney makes products. They are selling us a product, a mood, and an emotion. And the reason they're able to do this is because of things like the Sonny Bono law that they've lobbied for, where a cartoon, Mickey Mouse, right? This nigga from, 1903, I think the first Mickey Mouse joint dropped. It's still copywritten, right? And you can argue, it's Disney. Disney made it. Nigga, Walt Disney is dead. Disney as a company might have made it, yeah, sure, I'll give you that. But why is it still copyrighted? Things like the Avengers, Spider-Man. I know Spider-Man for sure should have hit public domain because of the Sonny Bono law. Things like the Sonny Bono law are the reason why public domain has moved 3 years in the past 50 years. Let that sink in. Partially because of a company known for adapting public domain works. Yet they've lobbied to keep what is essentially cultural folklore out of the public domain. And what do I mean by cultural folklore? In the fact that me, being a 23-year-old, I do not remember a time before Spider-Man. I do not remember a time before Star Wars. This stuff is cultural folklore, and if they hadn't have moved this stuff, shit from the 70s, the 50s, blah, blah, would be in the public domain by now, right? You could use a Beatles song in your movie. You could adapt a story from 1902 without getting the copyright X, Y, and Z. And to you, this might be fair, right? But remember how I said Disney's a cult? The thing is that these intellectual properties come with an instant fan base in a way that you really don't have for Romeo and Juliet, right? You really don't have for, a vampire, a story about a vampire, right? A story about Frankenstein, because they are contemporary, right? It's contemporary folklore. So that built-in fan base is automatically going to buy into your product. So Disney has this weird leverage and this advantage that other companies kind of have, but not really, because they've bought what is popular, right? Keep in mind that Disney owns 30% of the media and film and television market. 30%. They bought Fox this year. That includes things like The Simpsons, any film that's come out under the Fox banner. They bought LucasArts, right? That's Star Wars. That's Indiana Jones, right? Cultural folklore in a way that we have never seen before, because Disney has stopped the natural call and response of filmmaking. And what I mean by that is that if me, as an aspiring filmmaker, if I want to make an Indiana Jones that isn't as imperialistic, that uses Lakeith Steinfeld as the main character, I should be able to do that. Why? Because I want Lakeith Steinfeld as Indiana Jones, and I'm allowed to make, or I should be allowed to tell my own unique Indiana Jones story, because this is what content monopolies are. Disney is now the sole producer of Marvel stories. Let that sink in. Star Wars. Disney is now the sole producer of Star Wars stories. Let that sink in. Don't you think that's a little fucked up that now, because Disney owns Star Wars, keep in mind they did not make Star Wars. That is not George Lucas's Star Wars anymore. It's Disney's Star Wars. They can do fuck all with it. And let's transition into Star Wars, right? Let's talk about Star Wars.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. Not like here. Here everything is soft.
And the reason why I choose Star Wars is because I think Star Wars is the most egregious example in contemporary culture, contemporary society, of what Hollywood is doing. What the hell is going on with these media properties? We should start at the Sonny Bono Copyright Act. The year 1998, I'm reading here. The Sonny Bono Copyright Act effectively froze the advancement date of the public domain in the United States for works covered by an older fixed-term copyright rules. Under this act, works made in 1923 or afterwards that were still protected by copyright in 1998 would not enter the public domain until January 1st, 2019 or later. Mickey Mouse, specifically having first appeared in 1928, will be a public domain work in 1924 or afterward. What that means is that Disney now is the sole owner and sole creator of Star Wars, Marvel, Mickey Mouse, all these other things, right? But again, what did I say earlier? Disney didn't make these things. They bought them. They bought Star Wars. They bought Lucasfilms. They bought Marvel, right? So essentially what they did was they bought culture, right? They are now the only creator of Star Wars. While that may seem silly to a contemporary mindset, let's keep in mind like Beauty and the Beast. I love Beauty and the Beast. It's one of my favorite stories. It's a tale as old as time. But with each iteration of Beauty and the Beast comes something new, comes a reinventing of the wheel. And yeah, there might be formulaic versions of those things, but 9 times out of 10, if I'm going to make a Beauty and the Beast story, I have something to say. I have something to create. Disney being the sole provider or sole creator of Marvel, Disney, or Star Wars, I think Star Wars is very interesting to look at because let's keep it a buck. You want to know why Star Wars got popular? Not because it was popular or it was a good film. Yeah, it's a solidly okay film, right? I'll give it that. Solid 7 out of 10. But partially because the summer or the Christmas before Star Wars dropped, so sometime in the 70s, I can't remember the exact date, they came out with the toys before the movie even dropped. That's how it got big. It's nerd and geek culture and that conspicuous consumption, right? Because hey, we're gonna sell these toys, we're gonna sell this product before the movie comes out. Therefore, these people get indoctrinated to the cult of Disney, in this case the cult of Star Wars, the cult of Lucasfilms. So by proxy, because they have an attachment to these characters and have created their own stories in their head before the film has dropped, they now have an attachment. And again, keep in mind, Star Wars dropped in the 70s. That's at least two and a half generations that have grown up with Star Wars. What is Disney doing so bad that is the problem with Star Wars, right? Because I like some of the Star Wars. I'm not gonna lie, you know. I guess I'd say that I am a closeted Star Wars fan because if we're keeping it a buck, I got a Luke Skywalker Star Wars lightsaber in the attic. The fucking Return of the Jedi green joint, right? I fuck with some of the Star Wars. And one of the first movies I saw that was my own agency, that was a choice of mine, was Revenge of the Sith. That being said, but when Disney bought Star Wars, you can tell by their actions, by what these niggas at Disney are doing, by what the people who work for Disney, you know, all these people under Disney's umbrella, how they've treated Star Wars, they really don't care about telling a story and creating something that will last a lifetime, but instead, they're disposably and flippantly buying these products to increase their capital. Why do I say that? Well, I guess when it comes to something as old as Star Wars, I personally don't believe in one canon, right? But to me, it's really fucked up to take a piece of media that is decades old, buy it, and then be like, nah, you know, all them books, it's not canon. You know, Knights of the Old Republic, not canon. So technically, there was already a sequel to, what was the last one? Episode 6. There was already a sequel and there was already a story that happens after episode 6 in place. And Disney decided to say, nah, fuck all of that. We're telling our own story. You know what? And I get that. But to disrespect that world, to disrespect what those people had put in beforehand, to just throw that shit away, that's so disrespectful. It really is. On top of the fact that when Disney bought Star Wars, there's a clear shift in tone in the films, as well as becoming more toyetic. What is toyetic? So a property being toyetic is a way to sell toys, right? There's a lot of iconography, there's a lot of lexicon within the film that is very easy to market and sell. You know, for example, look, I'm wearing my Twin Peaks ring, right? Fucking love Twin Peaks. It's one of my favorite pieces of media of all time, but this is one of the few toyetic pieces within Twin Peaks. Right, so you have TIE fighters, you got R2-D2, you got C-3PO, you got stormtroopers, you got them guns, you got lightsabers, all these pieces of media that you can, or all this iconography from the film that you can easily turn into toys, you can easily turn into collectibles, things that you can market and sell to people. And there's a clear need for Star Wars to be more toyetic when Disney bought them. Perfect example, look at Captain Phantasma. Like, that shit don't even that makes zero fucking sense from just like a story standpoint. Why the fuck y'all got a chrome stormtrooper? Why is it chrome? Why she chrome? That don't even make sense. You're telling me you out on the battlefield, here comes this fucking walking disco ball over here. It's like that doesn't make sense. But you know why? Because yeah, I got Stormtrooper armor, yeah, I got Boba Fett armor, but do I have Captain Phantasma armor? Easily selling a product, right? You know, you could have made another R2-D2 type robot, but nah, they was like, fuck it, we're gonna make BB-8. Fuck it, we're gonna drop Baby Yoda, which is predatory in and of itself, at least Baby Yoda, because it uses the science of cuteness. Yes, there is a science to cuteness, right? Look at Hello Kitty. Look at all these, there's a ratio, there's literally a ratio in your head that your brain will perceive as cute. So, again, one of the biggest franchises in the world, Disney buys it, markets it, doesn't care, doesn't put any love into it. And the reason, again, well, the reason why I say they didn't put love and effort into Star Wars is because when you really look at the films, right, from the second they bought these films, they got to work, right? Cool, you know, you excited, fuck it, right? We're gonna hire a bunch of people, and then they're cycling through writers, they're cycling through directors. You know, it's very obvious that Disney doesn't care, because let's say, hey, I'm Storyteller McGee, right? I'm big wig producer at a studio, right? I hire the Safdie brothers to write me a Star Wars joint, right? But I'm like, nah, fuck it. I don't like the Safdie brothers. You know, y'all wilding out. Y'all trying to make this 2 uncut gems. Fired, right? Wow. Hire Wes Anderson. You know, fix the Safdie brothers script. X, Y, and Z. Nigga, you wilding out. Fire Wes Anderson. Hire Jordan Peele. Hey, fix the Safdie brothers and Wes Anderson script. Fix that shit, right? You wilding and out. Fire that nigga. So they're cycling through producers and directors. They're not cycling through producers. They're cycling through directors left, right. That's not how you write a movie. That's not how you write a story, right? You go into it with one story. You build off that story and you expand the world. I have no problem with extended canon and extended lore. But hey, y'all aren't trying to do that. Y'all are trying to create a product that is easily marketable. That's why they're running through directors like it's going out of business, right? They're just going through directors like it's nothing. Why? Because if you try and do something a bit too radical, a bit too different, we don't like that at Disney. No. So they're trying to essentially, the producers are becoming the new directors. Producers have more power in Hollywood than the directors do, which makes no damn sense, right? I'm forcing essentially a rectangle in a circle hole. It just doesn't work. It does not work. You can't make movies like that. That's not how you make movies. And you can tell that they are only here to make money. You know why? Because look, I like Star Wars. Star Wars got an extended universe. It's got a lot of story. It's got a lot of world behind Star Wars. But then, yet and still, I'm watching Gamescom. Y'all dropping another Star Wars game, even though you just dropped one last year. You just dropped another one the year before, right? And your another trailer. So that's three new Star Wars games on the horizon, right? And then you guys put Star Wars in The Sims. That don't even make no sense. That doesn't make sense. Star Wars doesn't even mix with The Sims in terms of gameplay. The Sims is literally a life sim. It's a virtual dollhouse where essentially the action that you have is like, hey, makes bread. Hey, plays with lightsaber. Like, that doesn't track in terms of what you're making. Yet you, as a market manipulator, as a cultural curator, right? A cultural creator, right? That's what Disney is. We're like, hey, we're going to license this out. And you license them to make what is essentially a glorified advertisement for the Disneyland park. Journey to Batuu? I don't fuck with that. Why can't we get Journey to Naboo, Journey to Tatooine? You only want to produce contemporary Star Wars. I don't entirely have a problem with that, so much as if they showed at least a little bit of respect to what came before it, and Disney does not. And that's why people have issue with all of this shit, right? Because Disney has bought, again, cultural folklore. And what I mean by that is, imagine if, theoretically, going back to the Beauty and the Beast example, there are different versions of Beauty and the Beast. My version of Beauty and the Beast is different from yours, is different from his, is different than hers, right? There's a world, there's a lore, right? There's a lore to H.P. Lovecraft, right? You can interpret that in so many different ways. You can turn that and translate that into something new. Everybody knows Cthulhu, you know? Everybody knows these classic stories, these tales as old as time. And I'd argue that, again, I do not remember a time before Star Wars. I do not remember a time before Luke Skywalker. That shit has just been there. That shit has always existed for me. And to say, hey, I'm bigwig company, I'm gonna be the only producer of that. Again, because of that built-in fan base, right? People like Star Wars, you know? People just really only want to see Star Wars iconography on the screen. Going back to nostalgia, that's Frim.
By the way, I have a new killer device, the Frim. Free ride, instant money.
Easy peasy. That's free ride, instant money. It's Frim. Easy. It's printing money because we don't have to establish a world. We don't have to put in as much effort. We don't have to create something that resonates as much culturally. If you just go back and you look at the effort and storytelling that's in the earlier Star Wars films, you know, there's something there, and that's not me shitting on it for the sake of shitting on it, you know, because I'm not going to sit there and dissect it. But hell, y'all over here writing the Star Wars movies, and because fan bases, right? Fan bases are fucking fickle. You can't make something that pleases everybody, but Disney yet and still is so fearful of anything that's slightly different, that's new, that presents new ideas, and we'll talk about this again later in the video. But like, Disney's making these films to appeal to the widest common demographic. And yeah, I guess there's nothing wrong with that on paper, right? But if I'm a storyteller, if I'm making movies X, Y, and Z, you know, I want to fuck with a vision. I want to have a vision, and I don't see a vision there. Because Disney's over here trying to make the most inoffensive, unchallenging piece of media. Disney's over here trying to create a movie and a piece of media that doesn't challenge anybody, that doesn't do or say anything new, because we're so scared of upsetting and ruining our profit margins. And because we're so scared of ruining our profit margins, right? Disney's scared of ruining their profit margins. They don't take risk. They don't make something new. So then you have the new Star Wars, right? Everybody hated working on it, bro. You got what's that dude's name? J.J. Abrams, right? J.J. Abrams was writing that joint up, and he's like, yo, Disney didn't even let me fuck around with my own vision. They controlled the vision. They control what I can say, do, X, Y, and Z. And the producers, again, now have more say. They have more say than the writer-directors in the final product. That doesn't make sense, nigga. You are not, if you want to be a director so bad, you go direct your own fucking film. Stop pushing people around simply because, oh, I'm funding the movie, blah, blah, blah. Because at the end of the day, the new Star Wars doesn't make sense. It doesn't track. There's a bunch of retconning, bullshitting, just circling plot. Like, it doesn't make sense, genuine. And that's because Disney doesn't care about these properties. And again, that extends to everybody else in the filmmaking industry. Everybody. And we are just getting this is the tip of the fucking iceberg when I'm telling you this. So let's say Scooby-Doo, right? You can't do whatever with Scooby-Doo because this company owns it. Scooby-Doo is something that dropped in the 50s with Hanna-Barbera, like 70s, I think. But like, you see what I mean? These things are old as shit. I don't remember a time before a lot of these properties, yet and still I have a content monopoly, right? Because I'm the only producer of The Simpsons now. I'm the only producer of Mickey Mouse. I'm the only producer of Star Wars. X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. Explain to me how these companies who have little to nothing to do with the actual success of these properties, little or nothing to do with the writer-director teams that originated from these properties, are now able to capitalize and now control what can be made with this, right? And like I said, this is the tip of the iceberg. Let's look at how they manipulate the market. Let's look at how they control the conversation. So why am I so critical of Disney, and why have I talked about why these things are bastions of culture, essentially, why these things are pillars of entertainment, culture, the movie industry, all of that? Well, because Disney's manipulating the fucking market. They've done fucked the game up for everybody else in a way that is insurmountable, but only people who pay attention to the movie industry and that shit behind the scenes would really know about, right? So what am I saying? Well, in 1950, there was a landmark antitrust case called Paramount versus the United States. What this antitrust case said is that Paramount could not produce the movies and release the movies, only in Paramount theaters, right? So what they were doing is what Disney's doing now, but change theaters to Disney Plus, right? And you're like, oh man, well, Disney owns it. They should be able to exhibit it, I guess. But the way they were doing it was you could only see Paramount joints at a Paramount theater. That's like if you could only play PlayStation games on a PlayStation console, except that was all that was on Paramount screens. Sounds eerily familiar to me. And the reason why I say that is because Fox under Disney is just Disney under another name. It's still something that Disney owns, right? Star Wars, Marvel, all of that, that's still stuff that Disney owns. Okay, cool. You don't like Disney, you don't have to see it. That's the argument I hear all the time. All the fucking time. But if I told you that Disney's encroaching on your ability to see what you want to watch and taking away choice from you, would you believe me? Alright, let me explain it then, because then you'll fucking believe me. Alright, so let's talk about the contemporary form of block booking that Disney employs. So what is block booking? Well, I'm glad you asked me, friend, what block booking is. Block booking is essentially me being Disney and saying, look, if you don't listen to our terms and put Star Wars on 3 screens, you won't get the Lion King live action. Oh, I'm sorry, Lion King animated. That shit ain't live action. The fuck? That shit ain't live action. Yeah, so what are these terms? It's usually some bullshit. Let's talk about how they asked for 60% of ticket sales for The Last Jedi. That's asinine, first off, right? And then their terms are usually some bullshit like, oh, you have to play our films on 3 screens for 3 months, right? 3 months. and we have to use your IMAX screen for at least one of those months. And it has to be exclusive theater showings, meaning that, let's say they're on screen 16, right? Screen number 16 is only running The Last Jedi for the next 3 months. They don't have a choice. They have to follow these terms, or else they get in trouble and they get fined. Ridiculous. Because let's say I'm Joe Blow from Pennsatucky, Iowa, right? I want to go see, I don't know, say I want to go see St. Maud, right? The new A24 joint. Oh, sorry, all the screens are taken up by Disney bullshit. All the screens are taken up by fucking, I don't know, Universal Studios bullshit. We have these megaplexes, right? But these megaplexes aren't even catering to the indie market, right? And you could be like, well, there's not a demand for it. How's there not a demand if they're not even showing it, right? It's not like I can go on Cinemark.com, right? And be like, can you please get the new Sion Sono film, please, definitely? And suddenly I start seeing Sion Sono in the program. It don't work that way. They make the choice for me. I don't live near an indie theater. I mean, if I drive 40 minutes, yeah, I'm by one, but I shouldn't have to drive. I literally had to drive 70 minutes just to go see The Last Black Man in San Francisco. That's asinine, right? And you can blame A24, but I'd also argue that the terms that Cinemark sets to allow films to play on their screen X, Y, and Z are exuberant too, right? Films get pushed back during the holiday season because they don't want to compete with Disney, because Disney has such power in the fucking market share. And we can argue that's the same thing with DC films, all of these big ass tentpole films, right? And you're like, well, that's just competitiveness, blah, blah, blah. Is it though? Because let's keep it a buck. The average person doesn't always have access to an indie theater. You'd be like, well, you still get to see it. Well, I think seeing films on the big screen, completely different than watching them on my 13-inch MacBook. Completely different.
Now, if you're playing the movie on a telephone, you will never in a trillion years experience the film. You'll think you have experienced it, but you'll be cheated. It's such a sadness that you think you've seen a film on your fucking telephone. Get real.
Different experience. I believe that everybody deserves that opportunity. But if Disney is obfuscating the market and limiting our ability to see these films by bullying out the competition, what the fuck are we supposed to do? Like, look, Disney acquired, when they acquired Fox, they acquired like the films that were coming out. So it was this new Terrence Malick joint, right? People wanted to see it. People love Terrence Malick. I fuck with Terrence Malick. Badlands, choice film, great film. Love a Badlands. So the terms were Avengers pricing for a film that's not gonna bring that level of consumer and return in, essentially pricing out the indie market, pricing these films out of the market. And you could be like, well, blase, blase, blah, 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 blah. But like, Disney's not putting that Avengers level of advertising and marketing into these films. What do I mean by Avengers level marketing and advertising? Well, I'm over here eating a fucking Chiquita banana, right? And this is a dead ass thing. Over here comes fucking Chris Evans, Captain America, advertising to me on the sticker. What the fuck does Chris Evans know about potassium? And why is he here? What does that have to do with vitamins, bro? What does that have to do with fruit? What, is Thanos about to snap these vitamins away from me? Let me get my vitamin K without being advertised to. And it's the power that Disney and Marvel and Star Wars and all these companies have to overly penetrate the cultural consciousness as well as the markets in a way that is, again, unprecedented. Remember how, like, at the start of the segment, I was like, look, Disney is manipulating the market, doing something eerily similar to the Paramount Clause, right? Let's look at Disney Plus, right? Home media. So what they're doing with Disney Plus, eerily similar, right? But it's really fucked up that, hey, you have to have a $15 monthly subscription to Disney Plus, and you can pay $30 to watch Mulan. That's $40 per showing of Mulan that they're making. On top of the fact that if I cancel Disney Plus, I no longer gain access to Mulan. That's fucked up, right? And it's segmenting the market, right? $40 to watch Mulan. right? And if I cancel it, I don't get to keep it. It's not like a physical copy of a film where I buy that film once, I have it forever, right? That's my copy of the film. So I have to give them $15 a month to watch it. Bullshit. Fuck out of here. Makes no sense, right? And then the way they're doing this, who's to say in 2-3 years, yeah, we have access to all the Disney joints now, right? Who's to say in 3-4 years they pull that Disney Vault shit again, right? Who's to say? Because I guarantee you they will. I guarantee you, right? You're gonna log on one day, you're like, I want to watch Fantasia. Bolted. Sorry, you gotta pay $30 to access Fantasia. That's fucked up. That's selfish. That's greedy, right? And on top of this, I think the way we are currently segmenting the streaming industry is so dangerous for just discovery and accessibility, because it's not like everybody has every streaming service. I have different streaming services than him, than her, than who you share accounts with. Everybody has different access to things, right? And if the only way to see a new Terrence Malick joint is on Disney Hulu, right? If nobody has that, people aren't going to see it. So now this film flops and bombs, right? And Disney's not going to put that level of money and advertising into that kind of film. I've seen it firsthand, right? They don't. And on top of this licensing bullshit that they're doing when it comes to copyright, because it's not like back in the day at Blockbuster, where I could be like, damn, you know, can I see Persona by Ingmar Bergman, please? And the niggas at Blockbuster can be like, oh, that's at our San Bernardino location. Let me get that shipped here. And they bring it to you, and slowly this store, your local Blockbuster, curates to your taste, Joey up the street's taste, Sarah down the road's taste, and it's this culmination of people, right? Where you're able to access and find things naturally. No, because they have to pay for licenses, right? And the thing is that if I'm a distributor, say I'm Netflix, I'm head of curation at Netflix, right? I'm trying to get Legends of the Galactic Heroes on that joint, whatever, and like they don't want to pay the license, or they don't want to sell me the license, that limits the access people have to these things, right? Let's just talk about like shit like old school Star Wars, right? You cannot watch Star Wars in its original form in the way it came out in 1977. That's insane. That's censorship, because George Lucas doesn't want to release it. Yet there's devoted fans and devoted fan projects dedicated to releasing this in 4K. They put in the time, effort, and money, right? But because George Lucas doesn't want to release it, and because you need the license from Disney and these companies to release these things that this nigga, Georgie boy, has no interest in releasing, right? Which is essentially cultural history, right? Seeing the original film without all the edits and all that other stuff added in. They're not able to profit off of that, at least legally speaking. And that's cultural censorship, right? You know, they're hiding shit like Song of the South. Yeah, it's not a pretty movie, but it's a part of our history, and I believe we deserve access to it. Because I promise you, if they're like, this old problematic Disney film, I wouldn't have searched that up, right? And then that's just some of the stuff. Like, Disney is literally taking movies and censoring them on Disney Plus. Who's to say, yeah, this is a bit of speculation, this isn't straight facts, but who's to say they won't start censoring stuff on Hulu? Might not be now, but who's to say they won't? And that's the tip of the iceberg when it comes to home media. That's before we get into the fact that niggas will buy the rights to a Ghost in the Shell, right? Like the US distribution rights to Ghost in the Shell, and not release the DVD. Or in the case of something like The Ring and The Grudge, we'll buy the rights, make the US remake, release a lackluster DVD, and never allow the film to be streamed or that DVD to be sold other than the one print run we did in 2004. So it limits access to stuff. It's literal. Hey, what's up? I got one quick correction for you guys. So apparently Arrow did get the rights to release Ringu in the United States. This release came about a year after that initial UK release, but I need you guys to know that this is very much the exception and not the rule. That US release is also already fetching hundreds of dollars on the secondhand market, since it is already out of print. Companies like Miramax, a subsidiary of Disney, are notoriously known for being hard and unwilling to work with smaller boutique labels who want to release these films. We can very much assume that this is going to be the precedent going forward, as they have acquired Fox and they are no longer letting theaters screen Fox films. Also, things like the fact that Farewell My Concubine still hasn't seen a United States re-release since its original 2003 Blu-ray release, yet there have been multiple foreign releases of it. Cultural censorship by region locking, because every DVD has a little region code in it. So if you don't have a region-free player, you know, for example, this is my European copy of Lydia Forever, right? I cannot play this film without a region 2 DVD player. Like, I put this in my American DVD player, it literally will not let me watch it because of that cultural censorship there. But I have the film here, but I'm not allowed to watch it because some asshole in the US distribution market decided to buy it, release it once, and never release it again. It's limiting what I have access to, right? Let's say, like, look at the case of Neon Genesis, right? The American version of Neon Genesis. You can only watch it on Netflix, which is cool, but a lot of people prefer the original because there are small changes that change the text as a whole, right? But not only that, I need Netflix to watch that show. Even though I go to Japan, I can buy the Blu-ray, I can buy the DVD, but Netflix is the only distributor of that. And that's what I'm talking about by these content monopolies. That's why that DVD set still goes for $300-$400, because people want to hear the original dub. They want to see Fly Me to the Moon. And it's little things like that where, you know, we got the license to this show, but oh, we can't get the license to this song because Frank Sinatra's charging an arm and a goddamn leg to use it, so we have to take it out, right? That's why something like Freaks and Geeks, right? Love Freaks and Geeks. I have the Blu-ray. I'm not about to get up and go get it, right? I have the Blu-ray of it, but you want to know why it's not on streaming services? Judd Apatow has confirmed this. The licensing for the music, which he got the right to at one point in time. At one point in time, he had the rights to use that, but because licensing, rights, performance, whatever fucking bullshit with revenue or whatever comes out of it, won't allow him to put that on streaming services because of the music, even though that shit was already approved. Make it make sense to me, bro. Like, our whole media industry is fucked and censored, and just, it's all about the money, bro. It really is.
Oh no! No more Star Wars. Let's make the quality products we need.
It's a different day. I got a different Dewey. That's how life works. This is the hardest part of the whole video, and I've been dreading making it the whole time if we're keeping it 2 Virgils. Mainly because I have one or two options. I can either be the dickhead that just shits on Disney blah blah blah, or I could level with you and be real, right? But I need you to meet me halfway, because I gain nothing from this, right? People are gonna be like, oh, you're a DC head, blah blah blah. Fuck no, I think both of them are garbage, frankly, honestly, right? And I'm not shitting on them to shit on them. I'm really coming from a place of love, right? Because I feel like a lot of people don't realize how badly Disney and like all these other brands have manipulated the market, right? Disney has literally stopped the public domain for movies, all to save a fucking whistling rat. All to save a fucking whistling rat. Some shit that they don't even really be dropping like whistling rat movies for, yet they want to save it. Meanwhile, things like Spider-Man should have been in the public domain by now, but Disney stopped public domain for moving. And then in the 2000s, Disney bought Marvel because they felt they had a hard time relating to young boys, and their movies were flopping, and then they struck gold. But if you is a Spider-Man head or an Iron Man head or a Hulk head, whatever fucking character you like, with Disney being the only provider of Hulk, Spider-Man, all these characters' stories, you have a confirmation bias because you love that sweet nostalgia cake. They could be so much better. Genuinely, I'm not gonna get into it, mainly because I don't have the time. But like, for being real, the biggest entertainment provider is Disney. They've penetrated every fucking market, yet they only make films at a PG-13 level. There's only so much they can talk about because they want to appeal to everybody. You know, China, not trying to attack China, you know, the people at least. I'm attacking the government. China's a fascist country, borderline, if not fascist, right? They have strict laws based on what you can and can't say in your movies. Disney makes films for them, right? That's why they be hiding black people in their movies, right? The Black Panther cover in China, that's why he's in a mask, right? That's why LGBTQ people are always in the background of the Disney joints, because they can easily edit it out in post. But we're not in the 1950s. These companies refuse to keep up with contemporary culture, yet these are the biggest films. Theoretically, if these content monopolies were not a thing, imagine if like multiple people could drop Spider-Man joints at the same time, and these films would have to compete with one another. That's where they benefit, and they want to keep it that way. Most people in America have never seen a foreign film, not particularly because they don't want to, but because they haven't really had a chance. Same with indie movies. And I'd argue that our culture conditions us to dislike them. That's why you always hear jokes about, oh, it's one of them weird indie movies, it's one of them weird art movies, it's one of them weird French movies. But these are just like surface level assumptions that people be making. That's like Anthony Bourdain being like, damn bro, McDonald's is garbage food, and you being like, well, it is very good to me. But like, that nigga has tasted all the cuisine. You've barely tasted cuisine for what it is. You've tasted a big mass market product, and yeah, it tastes good, it's savory, it's really salty, but it's fattening, you know what I mean? It's just fluff. It's not like the meat and potatoes. It's not nutrition. And I'm not trying to be a dickhead or an asshole, but again, look at licensing. Look at all these films and TV shows that we'll never get to see because some dickhead's sitting on the license, right? And you'd be like, well, if the director doesn't want to put it out, right? In the case of something like Star Wars, well, if that nigga doesn't want to put it out, what good is it doing sitting on a fucking shelf somewhere? Oh, because Paramount doesn't want to sell the rights? It's a content monopoly. It's a fucking, they're just sitting on like stuff. I'm not lying, bro. I've read books on this. This book might not show up because it's my green screen, but I've read multiple books on this subject. I wish I was lying. I really do, bro. They're making fucking emoji movies. It's all about the products and the brand. And people love to come on here talking about something. Oh, well, it's always been that way. Nigga, I know there has always been Hot Dog the Movies.
Hot Dog the Movie.
There's always been Sour Patch. I mean, what's them kids called? Garbage Pail Kids movies, right? There's always been Garbage Pail Kids movies and Hot Dog the Movies.
It's Hot Dog the Movie.
But there was also Apocalypse Now, 2001: A Space Odyssey, The Exorcist, right? The last movie. They shoot horses, don't they? Blade Runner. I could go on. There are so many movies that have came out through the Hollywood studio system that eclipse what they're doing now, while being entertaining, while showing an understanding of what the power of the medium of film can do, while also engaging with social topics of the day. I'd argue that the mid-budget film is all but deaded, right? What is a mid-budget film, right? That's something like a Tropic Thunder, right? That's something like The Craft, right? These films are gone from the marketplace now because all we get are big blockbusters and kind of small indies, because the way the Hollywood studio system works, we in America, we don't have a grant system for the arts. We don't. So what happens is that you write a script or a screenplay, you're playing the fucking lottery out there. You know, you just gotta hope that Joe Blow producer wants to make your film. But because Hollywood is all about that guap, all about that money, they're not taking risk right now. No risk whatsoever. Look at home media. Not only have they completely segmented the market, because the whole point of something like Netflix was to have tons of movies in one place, but now everybody wants their own fucking streaming services. So now Netflix is paying $10 million to keep Friends on it. Meanwhile, they can't even fund their own fucking shows. Content monopolies, where these big ass things just rule the market, decide where people spend their money. Not because Peacock as a service is innovating, right? Let's talk, like, streaming services haven't even innovated. Things like Friends List, IMDb integration, ratings, simultaneous watching, just direct recommendations, reviews. None of, like, there's not features being added, because all they have to do is get little content, put it on there, boom. Money machine. You know, like, again, they're fucking up the market to where, oh, hey, I want to watch Ringu. Oh, I can't even get it on home video without having a $400 Blu-ray player, because the motherfucker who owns the license in America refused to sell it to Arrow. So now I'm left with a subpar DVD release from 2003. This happens time and time again, bro. There's literally just like a void of what I'll call gray media or lost media. Media that we cannot access because some asshole doesn't want to sell the license, or because there's some music in it that the license expired for or whatever. And this stuff is just sitting on a shelf, rotting away, wanting to be watched, right? And again, you can argue, oh, the director doesn't want to release it. All right, what good does it do sitting on a shelf, right? What good does that do? Tons of lost media out there. But because these motherfuckers hoard licenses to make their shitty American remakes, they hoard licenses just to have content monopolies. 4,000 fucking characters are only at Marvel. That's 400 characters with individual stories and built-in fan bases that they exclusively own now. How is that fair to anybody? How does that benefit the consumer in any way? They've took out the fucking Paramount clause. The one thing that was stopping Disney from owning Disneyplexes, right? You think it's bad now? Oh, honey, it's about to get 10 times worse. We have the illusion of choice in our American media because Hollywood doesn't want us to have choices. Because they know that once we have choices, they have to try, and taking risk is not in their best interest. That's why we get shit like the Playmobil movie, the goddamn Emoji movie, fucking Angry Birds movie. Come on, bro. Come on. Do we really need a Fast and Furious 10 in space? But people buy it because they just want to see lexicon. And that's cool, but again, are you really eating, right? There's tons of great movies out there. That, like, literally the internet is the modern library of Alexandria. And all that stuff is just a click away. But unfortunately, that stuff is not as easily accessible unless you know how to access it. And honestly, if you are watching this and you really do want to get into movies and indie films, you know, leave me a comment with like 3 films. I will take the time and personally recommend you 3 films just based on what you like. I just want people to see films and experience films the way I love film. I want everybody to feel what I feel with film, but I promise you, the emotions that you get from something like A Double Life of Veronique, come and see, you're never gonna get at a Marvel joint. And that's not me being an asshole. That's me just spitting the truth, because Disney's not gonna make that level of challenging media. And at one point they did. Look at Fantasia. That shit's a pop. A fucking masterpiece. But the American person has been conditioned because they took out the goddamn Paramount clause again, right? So what do I propose to fix it? Honestly, if it was up to me, I would say that copyright should work similar to patents, where you can really only have them for 15 years, and then you can do a one-time extension. That way you only get it for 30 years, right? You only get it for 30 years. Because honestly, if you can't tell a story in 30 years, maybe you just don't need to tell that story, bro. That's a big ass story. Nobody needs all that story. What you doing out here with all that story? Let's say you get 5 years. You get 5 years of exclusivity for a piece of media, and then it goes to everybody. And then it would force these companies to stop fucking throwing Friends around, stop fucking throwing The Office around from app to app, forcing fans of this shit to subscribe to whatever app, and them getting that instant fucking fan base. They know what they're doing, but that would also stop and save so much of this gray media, because companies like Criterion and Arrow want to show this stuff that is not easily accessible. But if they don't want to give up the license, we'll never get it. Hell, David Lynch, that nigga David Lynch got a whole ass other show that is not available. That hoe's called On the Air, a whole ass show. And there's tons of shows like that. And whether that be because of music or some other bullshit, right? They can't use it. And I think music licenses should literally just be forever, right? Like, do you really need to collect all that revenue, nigga? Oh, they used it and people are watching. Who cares, bro? Write some new songs. You know, yeah, you should collect revenue for like maybe like the first 5 to 10 years of that hoe being out. But we have to relicense the music? That's fucked up. And again, I gained nothing from this, honestly. I just wanted to spread some awareness. And if you did like this video, the best thing you can do is share it with your friends, because honestly, I would say contact the FTC for violating blah blah blah, but they just made that shit easier for them. If you did like this video, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend some time with me. And honestly, I do value your time, because there's so much more I could have talked about, but I think I covered the most important part. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, bro. And if you liked it, like, share, subscribe maybe. I don't know. I'm gonna go play some more Parasite Eve, because that game's a fucking bomb. Take it easy, and maybe go watch something. Go watch an indie movie. There's tons of movies out there. Go find them. But not that nigga Quentin Tarantino. That nigga is a false indie. That nigga's first film came out in Miramax. That's that manipulation, I'm telling you.